Hi, I'm Mike Gridley and welcome to PowerBoat Television. A number of years ago, we were invited to New Brunswick to do a cruise on the upper St. John River from Fredericton to here in Gagetown. Well, we're back in New Brunswick again, this time to take a look at the lower St. John River and cruise from here in Gagetown down to St. John and the Bay of Fundy. For our time exploring both the St. John and Kennebecasis rivers, we enjoyed the hospitality of the Royal Kennebecasis Yacht Club. Joining us for our explorations were some people we now include as great friends. Along with Pat, Terry Conrad and Wendy Levy trailered in their Boston whaler from Halifax. Day one on the banks of the Kennebecasis River found us engulfed in a thick Bay of Fundy fog, even though we were miles inland. While rare in August, the fog determined our plans for the day, so we planned to head up the St. John River where we could enjoy the sunshine. Our immediate destination was Gagetown, to start our exploration of the river from where we had ended our cruise in 2010. With the help of the latest in HD digital radar, we were able to navigate to the convergence of the Kennebecasis and St. John rivers in Grand Bay. Rounding Harding's Point on the St. John, visibility began to improve, so we were able to pick up the pace for the 37 nautical mile run. Approaching Gagetown, we diverted into Gagetown Creek. Halfway along the creek, we arrived at the Gagetown Marina. Marina manager Glenna Law was on the dock to greet us and provided us with some information on the marina and the village.
We're here at the Gagetown Marina in the village of Gagetown, and as you can see, it's beautiful, the scenery, the nature. It's just, it's a destination point for boaters. We have, for our seasonal boaters and our overnight guests, we have gas diesel, we have a pump out, which should be a lot more than along the river, obviously. We also offer showers, we offer a laundromat, and we also have the Old Blue Pub where they can eat. They can go through the village, as we do have a lot of artisans here.
While chatting with Glenna, Bob Harity of Northeast Yachts arrived, ready to be our tour guide on the river for the trip back to St. John. As well, Phil Barrett and Rick Green were on hand with a Bennington pontoon to accompany us for a while. With our 3-boat flotilla, we departed the marina and made our way downriver with improving weather. The river through this section averages 20 feet in depth. The shores are lined with trees interspersed with fields. The lay of the land is relatively flat, so you will not come across many rock outcroppings on land or water. The main obstacles on the river are sand and mud flats, but the river is well marked. As you cruise along, keep a watch, and if you're fortunate, you'll catch a bald eagle or two along the banks. You will pass islands that appear to be well taken care of, with trimmed grass down to the water. This is not from human efforts, but due to the livestock that are barged over to the islands where they roam free and graze for the summer. While the skies remained overcast, I enjoyed our side trip into Washademoak Lake from the river. The entrance is well marked past the low islands and grassy shallows. The lake is a popular destination for fishing and boating, is surrounded with farms, summer homes, and campgrounds. The lake is over 11 nautical miles in length, so with gray skies and the time allotted, our tour of the lake was brief. Fortunately for us, as we ran back to the St. John River, the skies began to show some promise for a better afternoon. Join us later in the show as we spend more time on the St. John River. Welcome back as we continue our cruise on the St. John River. On the river you will see all types of boats. They range from fishing boats and pontoons to cruisers and sport boats that regularly utilize the old steamer wharfs to tie up. Boaters also benefit from the river's sandy shores and islands to anchor in their shelter or to beach their boats to relax, picnic, and swim. Approaching yet another gentle bend in the river, a cable ferry crossing marked our approach to Evandale, our next stop, the Evandale Resort. In short order, we had our 3 boats secured. While our crew headed ashore, I had a chance to talk to Bob Olson about his family's business.
We've been here ourselves as a family business since 2008. We put our dock system in the following year. It's a transient dock system. All the docks are transient. There's no seasonals. So it's first come, first served basis. We have gas and diesel. On shore, we have a pool. We have a restaurant facility. We seat about 200 people. We have a licensed pub, dining room. We have an outside patio to overlook the dock system for boats, transient boats coming in, going up and down river.
The resort is easily reached by river and road from St. John, and its excellent facilities and great Victorian architecture make it a popular stopover for a meal or a few days. Announcing their arrival before we could see them, our final guests arrived on schedule. As we enjoyed lunch, the 142-foot yacht Playpen slid by heading downriver to her berth at RKYC in St. John.
Well, we've had a great lunch stop here at the Avondale Resort. Great fish and chips for lunch. We fueled up some of the boats. Now, so far our cruise has been going at a pretty moderate pace here on the St. John River, the way you'd expect to explore and enjoy a cruise. But this afternoon we're going out in a little bit different style. It's time for some go-fast machinery.
Ken Powell brought his American offshore cat. His son Mike ran his Chris Craft Stinger. Brock Allister piloted a 35 Cigarette, and Don Alexander had his 28 Eliminator. The bay is on the eastern side of the river and extends 10 nautical miles into the rolling hills of the St. Croix Highlands. While it is called a bay, it is essentially a glacial lake. I'm sure it's quite scenic and a great boating destination to explore, but I only grabbed a few glimpses on our high-speed tour. Running close to maximum speed, the GPS in Ken's Cat, with his own Sutton engine's twin 900 horsepower Mercs, hit 120 miles per hour. After this high-speed tour, we settled back aboard the Whaler and Bayliner for a more relaxing return to St. John. As the afternoon and the river went on, we enjoyed the changing landscapes as rolling hills replaced fields. Rather than farms, more summer homes were evident the closer we came to St. John. As luck would have it, we hit fog again crossing Grand Bay to RKYC to secure the boat for the night.
Well, we've had a great day on the lower St. John River. We're back at the Royal Kennebecasis Yacht Club just above St. John and the Bay of Fundy. And just like this morning when we left, the fog is rolling in. We've had a great time out there, met some great people, cruised comfortably on a pontoon, had a fantastic high-speed run at 120 miles per hour on a cat. That's a great way to see the St. John. We're happy we've taken this second trip back to New Brunswick to cover more of this river. And stay tuned, because next week we'll have more from New Brunswick. Hi, Mike Gridley, and welcome to PowerBoat Television. This week we're back in New Brunswick, and we're going to do some cruising in the local St. John area. We're going to start here at the St. John Marina. Do some cruising that's very close to home for folks that call this their boating backyard. We're going to take a look at the reversing falls on the St. John River, and of course head out onto the Bay of Fundy.
The St. John Marina is located on a wide section of the river called Grand Bay. The area was discovered by Samuel de Champlain, who named it Grand Bay for its wide view. The bay is essentially cottage country, slowly transitioning to full-time residence due to its proximity to St. John. For locals, it's like having a great lake in your backyard. Before heading out, I spent some time with Sarah Williams, the general manager, to learn more about the marina.
So we're here at the St. John Marina today. We're a public marina, full service as well. We have 150 slips for boats up to about 60 feet in length. We also have transient docks here in the background along the breakwater and down along the visitor slip down here, and we can house boats up to 150 feet in length and drawing up water of 10 feet. We also have gas on site, pump out facilities on site, as well as water and ice. And as well here we also have a full service restaurant that's open seasonally from May through October. And we also have a beautiful banquet hall that we incorporate weddings and casual events for up to 250 guests. It also attaches a beautiful deck over the St. John Marina for 100 guests. Our boaters come all the way from the east coast of the United States and even as far as Vancouver in Canada here. We have them come up as this passage spot from the Reversing Falls, which is just down from us, and they go all the way up to Fredericton area in the St. John River.
Heading out from the marina, one quickly discovers the appeal of Grand Bay. The steep hills and rock formations that are covered with pine and deciduous forest are beautiful and calming. Looking around, I was reminded of some of my favorite views from the water in northern Ontario. Our exploration of the bay and into the river took us through the sheltered waters behind Kennebecasis Island. On the backside of the island, you will find shallow water to anchor in and beaches to wander. On the mainland by Bayswater, you can ease up to one of New Brunswick's scenic covered bridges that is still in use as part of the provincial highway system. Back on the island, there is a popular weekend or overnighting destination, Keith's Cove. Here you will find sheltered waters and quite a few mooring balls that belong to boaters from the yacht club and marina. Clearing the island, we were back in the main river. From its junction with the St. John River, the river heads inland in a broad fjord-like glacial valley, which defines the southern side of the Kingston Peninsula. Moving upriver, we tucked in behind Long Island to enjoy the calmer waters. At the top of the island, adjacent to Mather Island, is another popular anchorage, again with mooring balls. The attraction here is truly the sand beaches. Cruising upriver, you will pass the communities of Rothsay and Gondola Point. Both of these communities are a split between summer and full-time homes, just minutes from St. John. At Gondola Point, a cable ferry crosses the Kennebecasis River, linking St. John with the homes and cottages on the peninsula. While the river's source is in the foothills of Albert County, the upper two-thirds of the Kennebecasis River are shallow and narrow, so we turned back before reaching the village and headed back downriver to RKYC.
Later in the show, we'll have more from St. John, New Brunswick.
Welcome back to our final day on the river and in St. John. The day dawned clear and sunny, the perfect day to head down the last stretch of the river to experience the Reversing Falls. Joining us on this fabulous morning was the Mayor of St. John, Mel Norton. While he was born in New Brunswick and has been a long-time resident, this would be his first boat ride through the Reversing Falls. Crossing Grand Bay and heading into the river, the shoreline is pristine. It's hard to imagine that one is just a few minutes from the city. Rounding a bend in the river and sighting the Irving paper plant, the waters were absolutely calm. Passing the Irving plant and heading for the bridge, you can see and feel the current and the pull of eddies and whirlpools, even at high tide, as the flow is slowed and ultimately reverses stream at high tide. Boaters need to check the tidal charts to zero in on the 20-minute window for passage. When the tide is low and the river is running and accelerating through the narrow gorge, it drops over an underwater ledge into a deep pool, creating whirlpools and rapids. With fast water and vertical rock walls, it's not a waterway to be taken lightly. After a bit of a thrill, the waters calmed and we ran downriver to St. John, past the old fishing operations on the steep shore. Leaving the bridge, we cruised over to the public docks just off the Market District. Arriving at low tide, the docks were sitting 14 feet below the high tide line on the walls of the slipway. This makes for quite a climb up the stairs to the streets of St. John. While tide in the port city can range up to 18 feet, other parts of the Bay of Fundy see tidal waters rise over 40 feet. Before exploring St. John, I spoke with the mayor about the city.
In the middle of the city here we have the historic city market. I understand you're going to have a chance to visit there later today. It's the oldest continuing operating farmers market in all of Canada. It was built before the Great Fire of 1877. It survived the fire, and 2 years ago it was named the best public place in all of Canada. So if you want a place that really represents the true character of St. John, that's the #1 destination. This whole area here is our heritage preservation area. Most of this area was rebuilt just after the Great Fire. It's built of brick and sandstone. Many of the buildings well over 100 years old. At the top of King Street, which is the shortest, steepest main street in all of Canada, you'll find King Square. And there's a bandstand, a two-story bandstand, which is one of only two in the entire world that was just restored 2 years ago.
Enjoying the great weather, we caught all of the sights that Mel had described. We also added on a stop at New Brunswick Museum. The museum traces the history of the city as well as New Brunswick. For our group, the draw was the rich shipbuilding history and the early settlers' reliance on the sea, Bay of Fundy, and the St. John River. After touring historic St. John, Pat and I returned to the market to pick up fresh oysters and some other goodies for the crew to enjoy later in the day. It has always been a desire of mine to explore the Bay of Fundy, so it was back onto the boats. Crossing the harbor, it was clear that this was still an active, busy port serving ships from around the world. Passing by Partridge Island, Bob was able to fill us in on a bit of the history, from the first lighthouse to the plight of the Irish immigrants who were quarantined on the island in the 1800s. Many perished here. It was also a military outpost through World War II. Sadly, the island and its ruins were abandoned in the 1980s. Clearing the island for the open bay, the winds picked up along with the sea, so my desire to explore Fundy must wait till another day. After a relaxing passage back upriver through the reversing falls and across Grand Bay, we arrived back at the Yacht Club, wrapping up our tour of the two rivers and St. John.
I have to say, the St. John River system is truly special. A great and fantastic place to go boating with some unique experiences. Being able to go through the reversing falls and have a look at the Bay of Fundy, for me, was truly special. If you do have a chance to cruise your boat into this part of Canada, you really have to. And if you can't get your own boat here, there's certainly an opportunity to come here, rent a boat, everything right up to a houseboat to explore this wonderful river system.